My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Just want to be clear, that is, first of all, 2:18 in the morning, and it is Friday, June 19, 2026, and I just want to make sure that it is absolutely clear, and I want to underscore this. This is the entity that is stalking. As you hear plane activity and the entity is stalking and hiding behind clouds over the Ontario Senior Center, this is the same stalking committed by the Ontario Police. The entity that is stalking under things like a fake moon, the entity that is stalking me with psychopathic pacing by helicopter, which the entity committed in the same night, by the way. This is an entity that is stalking together. That means the group is together stalking. The group is together stalking in extreme and deranged manners and at the late hour, or rather early hour, meaning ceaselessly at 2:19 a.m. Okay, this is the P.O.C. This is the audible activity of demons that are going to be committed. There's no takeoff. That's demonic what you're listening to. It's criminal and it's demonic. And C. Gerber was engaging in mentally ill behavior last night while wearing a police uniform. The Ontario Police Department exhibited severe mental instability while they were engaging in terrorism, while feigning, to feign being a police officer, to feign engaging what are duties that are even remotely relevant to the execution of duties of an officer, is malicious criminal conduct and furtherance of murder, where they are engaging in this pattern of conduct where you hear the audible activity of a mentally ill entity. All right, an entity stalking in a plane that is not taking off. You know exactly what's going on. The demons are stalking in a plane flying over this senior center, and the audible activity is one as though they're taking off from the terminals at the airport, which is a takeoff that would already be complete. A judicially noticed fact, meaning this is clearly understood and readily provable with regard to even an expert sitting on the stand in a tribunal and speaking to, even demonstrating, even looking at flights that take off from the airport, which is occurring in the sky space over an airport. The entity is over 4 miles northwest from the airport, where they are hovering over the senior center. Moreover, at 2 in the morning, where the entity is stalking, and you're mindful of all those who you have seen stalking in the same of the same entity, and that is the Ontario Police Department. These are demons that are equally mentally ill, who also engage in what is stalking in the environment, stalking me, while wanting to conduct themselves as though they are doing something else. When you're stalking and you're behaving as though you're engaged in something else, those are the tall tale signs, the red flags regarding severe mental instability, psychopathic disorders, much like the entity that is stalking in planes, and engaging in the mentally ill behavior of stalking with light, stalking with noise, which is what the U.S. military is doing now, where no such takeoff is occurring, but you're hearing that. The entity that is demon-possessed is the entity that's being committed regarding their mental instability. This is P.O.C. It is currently 2:22 a.m. This is the audible activity of the entity that is being federally prosecuted, and they're also maintaining court hearings pertaining to their criminal acts regarding what is no legally relevant features regarding that which is defamation concerning the American citizen who is in fact being stalked, which is why this evidence is relevant as well. This is speaking to the malice of those who are, again, quote unquote, feigning having authority in a court, feigning conducting any serious court hearing about an American citizen such as myself who was being stalked, pursued, terrorized, monitored. That's what this is, by the Ontario police on video, by the U.S. military, like this. And you are conducting what is a court hearing about that which is criminally defamatory of an American citizen in my position. That is the entity, again, exhibiting psychopathic disorders, the mental illness of demons that are acting as though, number one, they have authority while they are stalking. Gang stalking is a term of art, meaning they are engaging in criminal activity, which is holding up what is justice, that which is automatic, that you are immediately, that you are reasonably engaging in what is the provision of justice to an American citizen that is subject to what is the ongoing emergency posed against their life, while the mentally ill are gang stalking an American citizen, which is what the military, what the Ontario Police Department are engaging in. And they're doing so as an entity that is being aided, facilitated by psychopaths by virtue of their behavior, by virtue of what they claim to be engaging in, by virtue of what they are actually accomplishing, with this same mentally ill entity stalking at over 2 o'clock in the morning over a senior citizen complex in the most expensive and extreme and deranged manner in commercial planes. And repeatedly so, the longer that this video continues. This is an entity that is stalking
And gang stalking is a term of art that is underway while the entity is entertaining, claiming to be conducting court hearings regarding what is defaming me when you are engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is deranged, psychotic, delusional, having nothing to do with the execution of legitimate court hearings where you are seeking to accomplish defamation, which is a failed defense of this entity that is stalking. And that's what this video is evidence of. Stalking. Defending yourself as the entity by seeking to defame an American citizen, which is what you are seeking to accomplish by holding court hearings that are serving to delay justice, is the entity that's exhibiting mental illness, psychopathic in nature, regarding what is justice that is to be provided immediately and not delayed to a target individual. And to do so is to criminally facilitate the mentally ill pattern of conduct that is shared by the military, shared by the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. It is currently 2:26 a.m. where the entities engaging in that which is relevant to a judicially noticed fact that there are no planes that are taking off anywhere over the Ontario Civic Center and taking off from the Ontario International Airport is something that is conducted over the sky space from the terminals at that airport, and it is not going to be heard like what you're hearing now. Covering it up and doing it behind clouds is the same criminal pattern of conduct. The entity is doing so while they are monitoring an American citizen that is systematically documenting and prosecuting, while the entity is systematically stalking and admitting to engaging in what is under all circumstances criminal and relevant, mentally deranged, ill, expensive, malicious, all right, improper, unlawful. These synonyms are what are relevant to committing the actors that are gang stalking, involuntarily committing. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that is engaging in that. The U.S. military who are engaging in terrorism are engaging in mentally ill criminal activity for which they shall serve the penalty of being placed in mental institutions. Gang stalking is psychopathic and sexually perverted criminal conduct. P.O.C. It is currently 2:27 a.m.
Alrighty, Serve Pro. Looks like of Indian Wells, area code 760. That's in the sticks, which is like Indio, somewhere out nowhere, and they're out conducting themselves, behaving like they've never been so excited to gang stalk somebody, getting more attention, to be around someone like myself. They're monitoring with the city of Upland, engaging in criminal summoning. They are engaging in the pattern of conduct. License plate 9 Apple Uncle Apple 527. This is, again, another company that's engaging in more criminal activity than they can afford to compensate for. The losers that are representing this gang stalking company, Serve Pro, that's going to be federally prosecuted, are monitoring with the city of Upland and with the U.S. military. They brought their whole gang stalking crew, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with Bill Velto, the city of Ontario, maintaining criminal presence at the Veterans Monument where the fake sun rises and sets. I've already documented. 94641 Charlie 2, license 27268 Mary 1, and license 8 Thomas Wendy Frank 107. This is the entity that's engaged in the pattern of kind of gang stalking, a gang stalking city hall, maintaining presence by companies that are engaging in the P.O.C. And they're doing so while they are pacing back and forth. They are literally freaks of nature. So this is the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. with Upland Public Library that is open out 10 o'clock. And they've been gang stalking me while being paid as literally a means of being present in the, it's a means of presence. So in the same way where I'm exiting at 7 and the fake sun is still here, the entity always has some means of a stalker being in the path. Somebody is there. Someone is always there because the entity is stalking with the military that's stalking in the sky space. The entity does things such as hires companies that's the criminal expenditure of funds while all it is doing is stalking, which is why the Upland City Hall is going to be defunded. Okay. These are stalkers, and Serve Pro is these are some serious losers. They are literally excited to be gang stalking me. It's pathetic. Coming out from the middle of nowhere with area code 760. You can look that up. It's a very forgettable county. There are a bunch of gang stalking Hicks. This is the P.O.C. These gang members are documented for criminal prosecution, and they're engaging in that pattern of conduct in Upland, California today. It is the corporate entity SERVPRO, SERVPRO. This is Fire and Water Cleanup and Restoration is the entity utilizing this company to engage in the criminal pattern of conduct. Doing so or engaging in what is repeatedly criminal summoning. So the city of Upland sounding sirens while these gang stalkers are maintaining presence, and they're in the middle of the Veterans Monument taking pictures of their criminal activity, which is a memorial for me to prosecute them. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently, by the way, 10:02 a.m. It's 11:17 a.m. The city of Upland is monitoring on my device as the evidence for that is documented thus far, rather, for June 19, 2026 is being uploaded. Stalker is sitting right in front of me, maintaining surveillance with the city of Upland for the 5th time, engaging in criminal summoning. This is what the gang stalking losers coming out from the sticks to Upland, California to catch a federal case, engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. This is what the entity was doing while I was sitting outside of the library, sounding sirens over and over and over again. And this is criminal summoning iteration number 5 as I upload the evidence onto the share drive where you, all the witnesses, can view the images of the vagina monitors, look at the names of the gang stalking companies, look at the city that's being defunded, that's going to be subject to martial law, and the psychopaths that are going to be committed and put in prison and lose position while they use emergency vehicles to pace around me, stalking with emergency vehicles, lights, and sirens. The entity is gang stalking in concert with the demons inside of the Upland Public Library. And it turns out these are a bunch of thugs, all right? Thugs like Joy, who engage in the pattern of conduct, and this thug's going to prison. All right, they're engaged in and they're interested in that thug life. They're going to be locked up taking prison pics. All right, it is currently 11:18 a.m. The entity engaging in criminal summoning with the Upland Public Library, who are inside gang stalking me, maintaining surveillance inside and maintaining surveillance outside. In doing so with regard to the pattern of conduct, a whole bunch of demons that you know are gang stalking. This is why the entity was stalking me by helicopter as I'm leaving. Don't forget about that. The same pattern of conduct is underway in here. And this thug Joy, she's going to prison. Okay? And so are the rest of her co-workers. Alyssa's here. Elizabeth is here. These thugs are going to prison. And thugs are not what the entity are the ones that have defined these terms for you. So you'd think that a thug is a particular color, comes from a particular neighborhood. Oh no, these thugs are gang stalkers. And they're all colors of the rainbow. And these thugs are vagina monitoring psychopaths as well. And they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:19 a.m. Where you hear those sirens, it's a federal offense. And the entity's doing it over and over. That's criminal summoning number 5. Just going in circles, monitoring me all day long, and that's why they're being defunded. They being San Bernardino County Fire, Upland Police Department, the Demons of American Medical Response, who are engaged in nothing other than stalking and monitoring. They have nothing else to do, and so they're going to be locked down by martial law and losing position. Turns out a bunch of stalkers are engaged in this criminal system, and so since the city of Upland is engaged in terrorism, the city of Upland is being defunded. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 11:20 a.m. All right, it is currently 6:43 p.m. This is documentation regarding the ongoing hate crimes that I'm subject to. And hate crime is relevant to the government that is engaging in what is an unprecedented basis of discrimination, an American citizen that the government has conspired to murder and psychologically torture in concert with the population. That population is targeting me while they are gang stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking me by combining that with the stalking with commercial planes, while they are then molesting me with impossible light. This is a physical accosting of my person. It's a method of psychological torture. It's also sexually violent, stalker touching. The entity is doing this while the entity is, I want you to hear the plane activity. I'll go ahead and capture that right now because Southwest Airlines has no business flying over where Perez Law is located. Perez Law, that's under the fake sun in the morning, where I'm being sexually assaulted with engineer light, and I'm going to This is literally prosecuting Perez Law, for example, and prosecuting them as being unfit in violation of the California bar requirements regarding being an actual terrorist and thus unfit to practice law. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaging in that, combining the stalking. When you're stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, and I am much more north of that location, and the entity is under the fake sun, molesting me with impossible light by a population that is targeting me, including at what is 117. License plate 6RYD698. Conspiring murder with Southwest Airlines and the Ontario International Airport, which is the city of Ontario, the mayor himself. And this is a population sharing in that. Psychological torture as what the people of the state whose license plate I'm going to recite are sharing in as an entity. The entity is going to be subject to martial law. The people of the state will also be subject to what is compensating the target individual. These are the ways in which you're going to prosecute a population that levies war against an American citizen. License 9JEK218. License 7 Charlie Jerry Nancy 821. License plate 7722001. License plate 93148 Thomas 3. License plate 8 George Nancy Thomas 963. License plate 8 Bob Nancy Kelly 203. And the fake sun is on me on this street as well. They are all stalking, gang stalking, furtherance of murder, while they reside at facilitating venues, maliciously targeting American citizens by virtue of place of residency in California. That's why everybody lives in California. They are here knowingly engaging in the system, and I am prosecuting this entire system. License Sam Nancy Open David Robert Frank Thomas. Snowdrift, SNODRFT. License 8 Kelly Nancy Apple 068. License 8 Nancy Zebra Kelly 270. I am capturing the fake sun over me as merely a sample of a population that's going to be prosecuted. For example, when you prosecute one person, you're prosecuting an entity. These are not individuals. They're all acting individually as the government that's maintaining presence, stalking you as the U.S. military is doing in Southwest Airline planes. License plate. This demon is outside. I'm going to document him as well. This is an entity acting with impunity, sharing in that ongoing hate, violence, and furtherance of murdering me and torturing me because I'm enforcing my rights against this population. 9 Xavier Sam Nancy 501. License 7 Yolanda Wendy Jerry 516. License 9 Edward George Victor 710. That looks like an Asian male, Filipino male. He wears glasses, stalking on the street. It is, by the way, also the current time being 6:47 p.m. Were that over me? I believe this is El Morado. Let me get the fake sun. And this is the entity that's engaging in that. I'm looking at 105. Yeah, 105. And 116. These are the addresses and license David Larry Wendy 980. This Caucasian male comes out of his house to engage in what is activity creation, monitoring me. And that is speaking to the specific knowledge. The fake sun is over me. I captured video here. And the demons were molesting me with impossible light at Perez Law at 822 Granada. 822 North Euclid Avenue. This is the intersection of Granada and Euclid Avenue. And the entity is engaging in what is this ongoing hateful conduct, which is the entity engages in this in order to cause an American citizen to engage in suicidal ideation, to psychologically torture them. They do so combining it with helicopters that fly over your head and follow you around while the entity is stalking you with commercial planes, with which I want to be clear, they're spending millions of dollars investing in murdering someone and psychologically torturing them. This population, the government itself, these corporate entities, they are all going to compensate an American citizen. This is P.O.C. License plate 8 Thomas Edward Jerry 167. P.O.C. at Granada and Euclid Avenue, where I'm present at Perez Law in the morning as well. This is relevant context, and this is how you report what is violation of what shall be recognized regarding the professional standards regarding the practice of law and the ability to practice law, the inability to further practice law. All right, this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 6:43 p.m. This is documentation regarding the ongoing hate crimes that I'm subject to. And hate crime is relevant to the government that is engaging in what is an unprecedented basis of discrimination, an American citizen that the government has conspired to murder and psychologically torture in concert with the population. That population is targeting me while they are gang stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking me by combining that with the stalking with commercial planes, while they are then molesting me with impossible light. This is a physical accosting of my person. It's a method of psychological torture. It's also sexually violent, stalker touching. The entity is doing this while the entity is, I want you to hear the plane activity. I'll go ahead and capture that right now because Southwest Airlines has no business flying over where Perez Law is located. Perez Law, that's under the fake sun in the morning, where I'm being sexually assaulted with engineer light, and I'm going to this is literally prosecuting Perez Law, for example, and prosecuting them as being unfit in violation of the California bar requirements regarding being an actual terrorist and thus unfit to practice law. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaging in that, combining the stalking. When you're stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, and I am much more north of that location, and the entity is under the fake sun, molesting me with impossible light by a population that is targeting me, including at what is 117. License plate 6RYD698. Conspiring murder with Southwest Airlines and the Ontario International Airport, which is the city of Ontario, the mayor himself. And this is a population sharing in that. Psychological torture as what the people of the state whose license plate I'm going to recite are sharing in as an entity. The entity is going to be subject to martial law. The people of the state will also be subject to what is compensating the target individual. These are the ways in which you're going to prosecute a population that levies war against an American citizen. License 9JEK218. License 7 Charlie Jerry Nancy 821. License plate 77220 Zebra 1. License plate 93148 Thomas 3. License plate 8 George Nancy Thomas 963. License plate 8 Bob Nancy Kelly 203. And the fake sun is on me on this street as well. They are all stalking, gang stalking, further into murder, while they reside at facilitating venues, maliciously targeting American citizens by virtue of place of residency in California. That's why everybody lives in California. They are here knowingly engaging in the system, and I am prosecuting this entire system. License Sam Nancy Open, David Robert Frank Thomas, Snowdrift, SNODRFT. License 8 Kelly Nancy Apple 068. License 8 Nancy Zebra Kelly 270. I am capturing the fake sun over me as merely a sample of a population that's going to be prosecuted. For example, when you prosecute one person, you're prosecuting an entity. These are not individuals. They're all acting individually as the government that's maintaining presence, stalking you as the U.S. military is doing in Southwest Airline planes. License plate. This demon is outside. I'm going to document him as well. This is an entity acting with impunity, sharing in that ongoing hate violence and furtherance of murdering me and torturing me because I'm enforcing my rights against this population. 9 Xavier Sam Nancy 501. License 7 Yolanda Wendy Jerry 516. License 9 Edward George Victor 710. That looks like an Asian male, Filipino male. He wears glasses, stalking on the street. It is, by the way, also the current time being 6:47 p.m. Where that over me. I believe this is El Morado. Let me get the fake sun. And this is the entity that's engaging in that. I'm looking at 105. Yeah, 105. And 116. These are the addresses and license David Larry Wendy 980. This Caucasian male comes out of his house to engage in what is activity creation, monitoring me. And that is speaking to the specific knowledge. The fake sun is over me. I captured video here. And the demons were molesting me with impossible light at Perez Law at 822 Granada. 822 North Euclid Avenue. This is the intersection of Granada and Euclid Avenue. And the entity is engaging in what is this ongoing hateful conduct, which is the entity engages in this in order to cause an American citizen to engage in suicidal ideation, to psychologically torture them. They do so combining it with helicopters that fly over your head and follow you around while the entity is stalking you with commercial planes, with which I want to be clear, they're spending millions of dollars investing in murdering someone and psychologically torturing them. This population, the government itself, these corporate entities, entities, they are all going to compensate an American citizen. This is P.O.C. License plate 8 Thomas Edward Jerry 167 P.O.C. at Granada and Euclid Avenue, where I'm present at Perez Law in the morning as well. This is relevant context, and this is how you report what is violation of what shall be recognized regarding the professional standards regarding the practice of law and the ability to practice law, the inability to further practice law. All right, this is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is, first of all, the U.S. military that is stalking me in concert with the City of Ontario that has turned off all the lights at the Ovitt Family Community Library in order to monitor and turned off all the lights, monitoring me on my device. It's personal with regard to what I'm doing on my device while the entity is stalking. You're not going to a destination. They're stalking where I'm sitting at, doing a U-turn in front of me. This is the military that is stalking. And the entity is intentionally engaging in something as threatening and as psychotic as turning off all the lights outside. And doing so because I'm publishing podcasts. My podcasts that are going to be updated right now. The entity turned off. This is the entity that's conspiring my murder, that engages in running up on me with knives, that is engaged in stalking me in places including the bathroom, and engaged in turning off all the lights right now. This is a lawsuit. I'm going to prosecute them for ongoing psychotic behaviors while the City of Ontario is stalking. All right, this is P.O.C. This is the entity. This is a monitoring tactic, and engineer light remains. They turn the lights off, which is a threat to my safety while the entity is gang stalking me, and the entity that is stalking with the military. This is impossible light activity. While they're stalking on the C Street turn circle, that's impossible light. It's not their headlights. And they turn the lights off. That's also letting you know the entity is intentionally turning the lights off. That's impossible light. Your headlights aren't going to touch this column right here. This is the entity that's monitoring and turning off the lights regarding what is monitoring on my device, and also doing so while the entity has turned off the Wi-Fi. This is speaking to the far-reaching and extreme extent. But when you see an entity that is stalking me in helicopter, this has long already been understood that the City of Ontario, the people of the state, the U.S. government, demons are going to very far-reaching and extreme and terrorizing extents regarding this criminal system. All right, these are vagina monitors that are turning off all the lights with regard to not wanting me to merely republish, and I'm going to republish it right now, the June 4th through June 14th, 2026 podcasts. And this is because of the malfunctions on the third-party facilitating venue, YouTube. And I want to be clear, out in the dark, the demons are stalking me right now. This is a federal prosecution. Alrighty, this is the pattern of conduct. This is the entity that is still in gang stalking me and doing so in planes while they turn the lights off. All right, this is literally the City of Ontario that I control, and that's because the City of Ontario is stalking me. And I'm going to prosecute for that. Okay, and I'm also controlling what's going to happen. Paul Leon's going to federal prison. This and more of what the City of Ontario has engaged in regarding conspiring my murder for profit, Paul Leon is going to federal prison for it. It is currently 10:23 p.m. This is P.O.C. This one is no takeoff. This is the entity that is stalking, and they're doing so in the dark. This is a matter of judicial notice that this is not a takeoff. This is the military stalking me and the entity engaging in what is turning off all the lights. This is a far method of seeking to obstruct justice, turning off the Wi-Fi and turning off the lights. It is light activity, but this is relevant to also what is a threat. All manner of stalkers, right? The entity stalking me, the demons that are engaging in the stalking conduct that you know. So you have stalkers hiding behind columns, hiding behind the gates, sitting on the benches around in the dark, monitoring me and stalking me while the military are doing so with planes right now. This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted. And the lights really are going to be out because this entire enterprise, which is the City of Ontario, is being defunded. And it will be subject to martial law. This is P.O.C. That's the stalking, and they're engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, and they're doing so under the fake moon. This is absolutely a targeted act while the entity has turned the lights off on me. And this is the entity doing so with regard to what is the pattern of conduct being published with regard to June 4th, 2022. They're pacing in the sky space.
These are demons. And this is a state full of demons that are, again, I want to be here, you're witnessing a progressive deterioration of their mindsets. These are people that are under spirits who have engaged in playing in witchcraft, and their behavior, which is criminal, is relevant to what is psychopaths that are deteriorating. They're becoming more and more mentally ill, which is not a defense in court. And they're being held liable for every single thing that they're doing, including their demon-possessed children. This is the P.O.C, and this is an intolerable threat posed by the city of Ontario, which the entity shall be compensating me, and I will be prosecuting it. This is relevant to what is ongoing psychological torture and criminal conduct with regard to a threat to my life, safety, and well-being, while the military continuously is stalking in planes and helicopters. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 10:25 p.m. I just wanted to capture that, just so that you can see if this picks it up. Light is still present, while the entity, this is still engineer light that is present. Yeah, the entity is still monitoring. Engineer light is still present, even in the dark. But I just want to be clear, this is not stopping the pattern of conduct. Oh, well, obviously the entity is still stalking by aircraft. All right, this is P.O.C. It is 10:26 p.m.